Do you or someone you love suffer from TMS? Are you constantly overloading your gear? Have you played way too much Call of Duty and thought to yourself, yeah, I could do an entire operation carrying all that? If so, then you or a loved one could be suffering from TMS. Sorry, there's no compensation. What's up, y'all? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Now, previously I've talked in several videos about a condition that I like to refer to as TMS. And I also made a short about this not too long ago that hopefully caught some of y'all's attention. Now, TMS, that's the condition that I call having too much shit on your kit. I see this far too often. I've seen it in all kinds of training classes. I've seen it in all kinds of rifle classes. It's one reason I'm trying to put together a civilian operator course for my future students, because this is something that really needs to be addressed in the civilian community. Because as I've seen, whenever regular old civilians like us get into the tactical gear scene, one of two things always happens. Either one, they go to all the wrong sources. Everybody thinks you gotta be John Wick or in some cool guy action movie ripoff where you gotta pile everything in the kitchen sink on here and you just gotta rock out with pouches on top of pouches. You gotta go full Captain Price from original Call of Duty and just load yourself down with 50 pounds of crap that you really don't need in a civilian setting. Or two, they go to the other end of the spectrum where it has to be 100% minimalist. All you need is a set of plates, one or two extra mags, call it good. That's all you need. Yeah, those can both fit in certain situations, but it is nowhere near the one-size-fits-all approach that most civilians are looking for. Now, as you can see, I have my preferred setup here. This is a T-Rex Arms AC-1 plate carrier, and for the money, this is probably the best budget plate carrier you can get on the market for your average civilian. Now, there are other plate carriers on the market that are much better quality and, of course, have a much higher price tag, and they're about the same size and offer about the same amount of real estate for potential mountings. Now, as you see, I have 3 rifle magazines in the front, I have 1 rifle magazine on the cummerbund, I have my radio over here on the cummerbund, and this particular setup doesn't offer a lot of molly real estate, but it does have clips for a placard. You can attach pretty much any placard on the market to this plate carrier. All you have to do is clip it in up here, put it down on top of the cummerbund, or you can put the cummerbund on top of this. This is elastic and it is Velcro on the front. So, and it's starting to sound like a T-Rex Arms ad, but I'm just trying to lay out the basic groundwork for what you should look for in your first plate carrier. Now, the main thing I want to focus on is look at how this plate carrier is set up. See, if I turn to the side, this is a very slick setup. I'm a big boy. I'm not too proud to say so. But you can look at this setup and see it is very slim. It's very close to my body. I have plates in here, and the mags butt up almost right up against those plates. This is a very good thing to shoot for, because if you are working around your buddies, or even if you're inside your home or in a vehicle or in some other enclosed area, you really need to get in there and get into those tight spaces. Or failing that, if you are in a situation where you actually have to pull triggers and light somebody up, you cannot get low enough to the ground to get away from those bullets, folks. I don't care what anybody tells you. Yes, you can hide behind cover. Yes, you can sprint to the next location and hope that Mr. Bad Guy is a really bad shot and he won't actually hit you. But when it all comes down to it, eventually you are going to have to duck down, take cover, and put lead down the range towards Mr. Bad Guy. That means going prone. That means going down to the ground, getting on your belly, and getting as low as you possibly can, whether there's something in front of you offering cover or not. And a situation like this, look at that. This is almost flat to my chest, flat to my stomach. I can get down as low as as humanly possible and still have rounds at the ready. Now, as you can see, I don't have anything on the back of my carrier. This is for 2 reasons. One is because this doesn't have any molly on the back, so I can't really mount anything back there. 2 is because I want this setup to be as slim as possible. I can always build up off of this. I have a little backpack in the house and I keep a water bladder in. I can sling that over the back of this plate carrier. You're good to go. I also have water in several packs in the house. I have a 3-day assault pack, I have my airsoft pack, I have my hiking pack. You can take whatever pack you want, sling it on top of this, buckle it in the front, it's out of the way, you're good to go. All my medical is usually on my battle belt. I usually keep a tourniquet in here, but it's actually on the other setup that I'm about to show you. It's actually in a little dangler down here below the mags. You can't really see it here. But this is as minimalist as I would like to go, and really what most civilians should shoot for. This is slim to the body, offers very good protection. I have level 3+ plates in here. They're also polymer, and yes, those are not polymer, but polyethylene rather. Yes, those are very expensive, but they are worth it. I rocked steel plates for the longest time, and even in a simple setup like this, those suckers are heavy. You ask anybody that had to wear those things overseas, and they suck. I mean, they suck. I mean, yeah, that's all. I've done videos like that before. Maybe I'll do another one like about that in the future. Now, all that being said, you've heard me talk about my preferred setup and why this is actually a really good option to shoot for. But I'm talking about TMS here, having way too much shit on your kit. What does that look like? Well, it looks something like this. Now this is TMS. Holy cow, would you look at all the crap that I've got stacked on top of this plate carrier. This is actually my old 511 Tactec that I rocked for years. Still a good carrier, but it's the only thing I could find that actually could carry this amount of crap on it. And guys, this isn't even the worst I've ever seen. I have seen far worse setups than this, and I don't know how these people even got around. Now, as you can see, not so close to the body anymore. Not so minimalist in the back. Definitely not as minimalist on the sides. I mean, there is stuff on top of stuff here. As you can see, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 rifle mags on me. Thankfully, these aren't all full, otherwise I'd be walking like this all day. But I have seen guys walk around with this many and more loaded mags. Guys, you have to remember, a fully loaded rifle mag for an AR-15, which holds 30 rounds, or in the case of YouTube, 28 3/4, each one of these weighs a pound. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 pounds just on the front of your kit. I'm also rocking my old steel plates in here just for effect. These are 8.5 pounds a piece. That's 16 pounds. And if I had stuff in these pouches, this is just for effect, of course. But if I had stuff in these pouches, depending on what I've got in there, that could be even more weight. In the back, I've got a full water bladder, holds 3 liters. That adds weight. This is actually a pack back here. You can put other stuff in here besides your water, however much weight you want to add in there. I have seen plate carriers that could weigh in excess of 50 to 60 pounds just by themselves. That is far exceeding the recommended battle weight for any soldier in any military, and in fact, this is more than double the recommended combat load for most U.S. soldiers and Marines. I believe the standard military combat load right now is 6 magazines on your kit plus 1 in your rifle for a total of 7 magazines, or 210 rounds. I am carrying 330 rounds on me right now, or I would if these were all fully loaded. That's not even counting the 4 pistol mags on the front of this kit. I got 2 in these pouches, 2 in these 511s. That adds even more weight. Guys, this is ridiculous. I mean, as Jeff Foxworthy said, R.I.D. is all this is. I mean, sure, if you were a Marine storming Fallujah back in the day, this is probably what your kit would look like. If you were striking out to conquer the zombie apocalypse by yourself, Walking Dead style, yeah, you may want this, because you never know where you're going to run into a herd of walkers. But as a civilian, guys, you don't need half of this crap. If you seriously think you're going to be in a situation where you need to be carrying this much ammunition, this much gear, and this much weight, one, you've got to be Arnold friggin' Schwarzenegger to even think that you're going to carry all this for any extended amount of time. Ask anybody in the service who has actually had to carry loadouts like this, and they will tell you it sucks. If they had a choice to do it or to not do it, they would not have done it. So why would we as civilians decide to load ourselves down like this? Well, a couple reasons that I've always heard. One, it's the ex-military guy who was there storming Fallujah, or was over there, he'd been there, done it, and seen it, and he did have to carry stuff like this way overseas, fighting the good fight, and he thought that now that he's a civilian, he wants to carry that exact same amount, even though he constantly complains about how much it sucked to carry all that stuff. Well, they quickly find out that as a civilian, you don't really need all this stuff. And I'm not even counting the rucksack, the backpack, all the other gear, the battle belt, whatever else you're going to be carrying in a real combat scenario if you actually have to kit up and go out and take care of business. So, another reason that I have found, I kind of joked about this in the beginning of the video. Sorry about that. People have seen way too many movies, or they've played way too many video games, specifically Call of Duty. I always make the joke about Captain Price in Modern Warfare 1. Anybody who's ever played that game knows exactly what I'm talking about. Captain Price looked almost exactly like this. He had double-decker mag pouches with grenade pouches across the front, big old pack on his back. He had pouches on top of pouches on the sides. This dude, one, I don't know how he was running around as a 5'7", looked like a $180 British guy. It just would not happen in real life. I mean, there is just no flipping way. Also, you notice how much space there is out in front of my body. Look how thick these magazines are, plus the pistol mags and whatever else you want to put on here. I've seen guys put GP pouches or med pouches or danglers or whatever on the front of their kit, even with all this crap already on here. If you have this much stuff on the front of your body, you are not going down prone. You are not getting through a doorway. You are definitely not going to be able to fit into a cramped space around your buddies, around your team, and be able to operate and move with any kind of fluidity or speed. It's just not going to happen. That's why if you look at all the top tier military units out there, like Green Berets, Navy SEALs, MARSOC, what have you, they have gone down from a loadout like this into something more similar to what I was wearing a minute ago, where it's sleek, it's minimal, it's high speed, low drag, you can get in, you can move, you can go down prone, you can get around obstacles, you can do whatever you need to do in and out of vehicles without worrying about all this bulk and all this extra weight. That is something we should really aspire to. Now, there's a third reason why people like to do something like this. It's the dumbest one of them all. Cool guy factor. I will never understand these guys. I mean, I get it. I've been there. I went through the Call of Duty phase when I first got into the tactical stuff, and I did have loadouts like this. I had a vest, not a plate carrier, a vest that had this much and more. I think at one point I had like 20 mags on my loadout. That didn't last very long. And as I continued in my tactical journey and I started whittling down the weight, realizing, okay, I don't need this, I don't need that, that's stupid, why do I have as much of this, why do I have that? Then I got down to what I was wearing before, which is the sleek minimalist setup, which offers maximum speed, maximum reliability, and maximum effectiveness, let's just say. Now, yes, if you're carrying this much ammo, yeah, you can be extremely effective in a firefight. But if you go down, you're screwed. Because you're going to have to take all this gear off. Nobody's going to drag my 250-pound butt with what would probably amount to 50 or 60 pounds of extra weight on top of me with just like this. It's not going to happen. It's just not. I mean, yes, there are guys out there that can do it. Yes, there are guys out there that have done it. If you had the option, would you still do it? Ignore the background noise because my chickens have decided to do a cameo. But if you had the option to do this, would you? No, you wouldn't do it. And I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but that third element, cool guy factor. Guys just want to look cool. Now, that works for like the flat range and the YouTube stuff and the Instagram stuff. Yeah, you're loaded down. You got everything plus the kitchen sink. You got mags on top of mags. You could shoot for days with this loadout. Now get into a vehicle. Go outside, get into your little Ford subcompact, and drive around and get lit up by, I don't know, the Russians falling from the sky or something like that. Get lit up by an enemy and have to jump out of a vehicle or move inside a vehicle around your buddies, around your family, and be able to do something effective. You can't do it. Not with this much bulk. Not with all these extra pouches. For that matter, I would not wear a belt with this setup. I just wouldn't do it. I would almost have to have one of those old 90s drop leg holsters where it's down to your knee, because with these pouches in the way, and this is a favorite spot for guys who put these big, thick GP or med pouches, it is very if I'm reaching for the belt line, I can't do it. If I had my concealed carry holster on here, this pouch is right in the way. I cannot get to my sidearm. If I had a knife here, I could not get to that knife. That's why drop legs were so big back in the day, because guys would bulk up on their kit like this. That's very bad. If you are in a situation where you're running around rocking your rifle, you got a sidearm, and something happens where you have to dump your rifle and do a transition, you cannot effectively do that with this much bulk on your cummerbunds. You can't reach straight down, get your pistol, come up, and present. You just can't do it. Same thing on this side. Now, granted, if this were a standalone kit and you weren't rocking a belt, this is actually a good spot to have mags, because that's right about where you would have your speed reload on your battle belt. And with these particular pouches, you can just grab the magazine and it comes right out. Now, on the other hand, if you were rocking a battle belt, this is right in the way. Now, yes, you can configure your belt to compensate for that, but this is just right in the way. I'm the kind of guy that likes to have slick sides on my plate carrier. That way I can move, I can reach, I can get to whatever I need to without any problems or obstructions. For me personally, I would not rock this kind of setup, but again, I've seen guys do it. Some guys I've even seen go extreme cool guy factor, where instead of having all the mags on the front like this with a couple of double deckers, chicken, but instead of having all these double deckers or other mag pouches all over the kit, I've seen guys actually have 4 magazine pouches down here, and then 4 magazine pouches across the top of the front, so there's literally mags stacked on top of mags. Unless those are taco pouches or something that allows you a little bit of flexibility, you are not going to get to that bottom row of mags. And you have to reach all the way up here to get to your top row of mags. It's stupid. Don't do that. Also, I've seen guys leave the front of their plate carriers slick and just have mags across the cummerbund. That's good. That's a good idea. I've heard a lot of EOD and medical guys, actually, especially in the military, will put their mags on the cummerbund and leave the front slick, so that way they can have their medical stuff, they can have their tools, they can have explosive triggers or whatever else they need on the front of their kit, right there where they can get to it at a moment's notice, with their magazines on the side, where again you can still get to it fairly quickly and execute a reload whenever you need to. Now, on the other hand, I've seen guys take it way too far, where they do put these double deckers on their cummerbund or on their belt, where it's just all kinds of dead weight over here on the sides of your carrier and it's sagging down. I've seen guys put side plates on here, which aren't a bad idea. I'm not a fan, but to each their own. It's not a really bad idea to have side protection on your plate carrier. But when you start mounting stuff on top of the side plates, or if you have those extra big bulky pouches that you attach to a cummerbund instead of the kind that have the plates or the soft armor inside the cummerbund, well, that just adds extra bulk and extra weight. Because guys, big thing to remember, this is the biggest complaint I have about guys suffering from TMS. All that weight is up here on your shoulders. And yes, if you're the 19-year-old Marine or the younger guy who's in shape, or if you're the guy that bench presses 750 or whatever, if you're in shape and you're bulked out, you're Mr. Olympia, yeah, you can carry that load. You can carry all that weight on your shoulders. But for how long? Remember, guys, if you are suiting up in your plate carrier and all your kit, this is not going to be a 5-minute thing. You are going to be in this kit for a while. If you're going down the street to, I don't know, fight off the Russian invasion or the zombie apocalypse, you could be carrying this kit for days. If you're suiting up with your car kit and you're running into a school or a store or something to engage an active shooter, that could take you several minutes, up to an hour, and even after the incident is over, when the police arrive, you are going to have to stick around, answer questions, and probably stand around in your gear, assuming that the police don't actually take it away from you. You are going to be wearing this for an extended period of time. In the military, when guys have loads like this, they would carry this stuff for days. They would march for miles, and plus rucksacks. Big, heavy rucks on their back that they would cart around for miles and miles, days at a time. I believe whenever we invaded Fallujah, I read this somewhere, and I've talked to a couple guys to confirm, the average load weight for the U.S. or the average U.S. Marine was 125 pounds. That's armor, ammo, supplies, weapon, uniform, spare clothes, all that good stuff. 125 pounds, and it could go up to 175 depending on your MOS or which particular theater you happen to be in. Just think about that for a second, guys. 175 pounds, that is the weight of the average American, and you are carrying that on your back, on your shoulders, and you have to carry this all day long. Even if you drop the rucksack and you're going straight into direct combat, you've still got this on. Again, this is probably 50 or 60 pounds worth of gear if all these mags were fully loaded and I really went just full cool guy mode and decided to rock everything out plus the kitchen sink. 50 or 60 pounds. I don't care how fit you are. After the first half hour to an hour, you start feeling it. After the first 3 hours, you are hating life. After the first 6 hours, your shoulders are killing you and you're walking around like an 80-year-old coal miner. And there's a reason why military guys have a lot of back problems. This is it. Guys, we really need to learn how to shave down our kit and make it a lot sleeker, a lot more effective. Best way I can put it is be more practical than tactical. Yes, this is tactical gear. Yes, we buy this and we wear it and we train in it for the eventuality that we may have to actually suit up, go do work, and put rounds down range on bad guys and other miscreants. But that doesn't mean we have to overload ourselves and we have to kill ourselves in said training. Yeah, it's great to have all this ammo. Do you really think you're going to need it? When you suit up, throw on your kit, throw it on, and go after it, you may only expend 1 or 2 magazines. Even if it's a full-blown Red Dawn situation, if you go through this much ammo at one time, you're in a very, very bad spot. That is an extremely extended gunfight. Now, granted, most studies have shown that the average combat load for the U.S. military, I mentioned it before, 6 mags plus 1 in the rifle, that will usually last you about 2 minutes in a serious gunfight. Now, that's talking to military guys using M4s with select fire capability. That's also units of soldiers fighting near-peer enemies or something along those lines, where they are just pouring lead down range and they are trying to take territory. They are really, really lighting it up. As civilians, we will not be doing that. Civilian gunfights are fast, fierce, very low round count. Now, there have been instances, of course, where extended gunfights have happened on civilian terms, but it's very few and far between. If you look at most of the most famous gunfights, or the most famous self-defense shootings that we've had lately, Kyle Rittenhouse. Guy fired maybe 6 or 7 shots. Elijah Dickin. I believe he fired 13 or 15 rounds out of his Glock compact. You look at White Settlement, Texas. 1 round. 1 round from Jack Wilson dropped a mass shooter in his tracks. You look at some of the gunfights that happened during the Summer of Love back in 2020. You're looking at maybe a dozen rounds, if that, from any one of the shooters involved. Even looking at the Chaz situation, where a bunch of Antifa whack jobs decided to light up a car that was coming into the wrong side of their little autonomous zone, whatever the hell you want to call it, and killed 3 kids. Those guys were really lighting it up. I believe they went through a magazine each, and they didn't hit squat. The only reason those 3 kids died is because of the sheer volume of fire going into that car. Those guys were burning through the ammo. Now, if they had met up with a group of people who were actually trained, equipped, and ready for a fight, probably wouldn't have gotten through all that ammo. 1 or 2 magazines is usually enough to get through most civilian fights. That's why you only see police officers usually carrying 1 or 2 rifle magazines on their kit. The kit I had on a minute ago, 4 magazines, plus 1 on my belt, that's 5. Another 1 on my weapon, that's 6. That particular plate carrier has the capability to have 3 more rifle magazines on my person if I want to. That's more than enough ammo, guys. And the way that weight is distributed, that's much better than having this. I mean, I'll say it again, this is just ridiculous. One last thing to consider, guys, is your weapon. When you are loaded down with just this much kit, this much crap, and this much weight especially, makes it really, really difficult to properly manipulate your weapon and be able to get it into those tight spaces and actually get it into position to take a shot if and when you need to. For instance, right now this rifle is slung across my chest. It is resting directly on top of all these layers upon layers of crap that I've got stacked on top of my kit. And from here, it looks fairly normal. Looks like it's easy to get to. Look at that. This weapon is probably a good 3 or 4 inches away from my body, which is not a good thing, especially if you are going through a building, if you're going through cramped quarters, if you're in an urban environment. You always want this weapon to be really close into your body. That way you maintain maximum control of this weapon at all times. When it is sitting on top of these 2 or 3 layers of magazines that I got stacked on top of this plate carrier, there is a ridiculous amount of space between that rifle and my body and between my rifle and my armor. If somebody were to jump up on me right now, if I'm rounding a corner or something like that, and they get hold of this weapon, it will be very easy for them to either take it away from me if it's not slung, or now that it is slung, it's not very hard for them to yank it forward, get me off balance. Now they've got the upper hand over me. And also, when it's sitting like this, it naturally tilts forward because that's the way the magazines force it to go. Right now, if I were standing directly in front of someone, I would be flagging the hell out of their feet. That is a massive safety violation. Now, granted, if you're in a combat situation where, guns are going off and bullets are flying, that kind of goes out the window, but at the same time, you have to maintain maximum safety around your own comrades or around friendly civilians. So walking around like this all the time with your barrel pointed at people's feet is not a good idea. And also, even trying to sling this gun to the side. Say I want to get this gun out of the way so I can do something with my hands, one of the 1,000,001 things that doesn't require you to have your rifle. Or maybe I want to do a transition, go to my sidearm. Doesn't work. Because when I try to get it out of the way, I'm being choked out by my own sling now because there's so much space between my rifle and the rest of my body. This is just ridiculous, guys. It doesn't work. Sling it to the other side. Same problem. It's sitting on top of pouches. Pouches that form space. Pouches that push this weapon away from my body. This sling is about as loose as it can get right now. Now it's tight to my body. Also, look at that. This gun is sitting right up against the side of this stack of magazines, and it's still flagging the hell out of somebody's feet. I move it to the other way. This is probably the best position you can have it in, but it's also the least accessible right now, because if I had to get to this weapon in a hurry, it takes me that much longer to get to it, as opposed to just having it slung across my chest, close to my body, where all I have to do is either lift it from this position, or let's say it was hanging loose, I could just grab it, bring that stock into position, and I'm ready to fire. Now let's talk about weapon manipulations in this much kit. Again, I keep saying it, but this is ridiculous, guys. There are just so many things to consider, because yes, I can get a good weld on my shoulder, I can get it into a good firing position. Now if I had to bring this gun back against my kit, say I'm working in a building against with my comrades, or I'm just moving into a tight space, I can't get this weapon in tight enough where I can actually squeeze into a tight space. I'm definitely not getting into a vehicle with this setup. And also if I have to change shoulders. This plate carrier is just so bulky, and I've got so much stuff in the way, especially if you're one of those guys that has like a tourniquet up here, or a knife or whatever. You're just bulking up your shoulders as well as the front of your plate carrier. Please don't do that, by the way. It's not very smart. But it's really hard to do those manipulations in this much kit. This is why a sleek carrier has become so much more popular, because not only do you have less weight on the front of the carrier, you have less bulk, but this rifle can actually be squeezed in a lot closer to your body. You can move with more fluidity, you can get into those tight spaces, do basically whatever you need to do. Yeah, you can reload it all day long from this stack. You've got a mountain of ammunition to use. But if your weapon is not properly in position and you're not able to properly manipulate your weapon to get to those reloads, it just doesn't do you any good. Not only that, but again, this sling is as loose as I can get. This is a, which one is this? This is a VTAC adjustable sling, so a Viking Tactical. This is as loose as it will go. The gun still sits like this. That's basically the gun at rest. Once again, pointed directly at my comrade's feet if he's standing directly in front of me. A lot of space between me and the gun. It's really hard to get it up and in position in a speedy manner with this much stuff on. Not only that, but if you've got a lot of stuff mounted to the back of your plate carrier, like right now I have a small pack with a water bladder inside, that can interfere with your sling. Also, this water straw I've got over here. I've got it tucked away where I used to keep it all the time, so it's kind of out of the way. But if you had one of those that doesn't run through your shoulder pad and it goes over your shoulder, that will interfere with your sling. It'll interfere with your comms. I've got a push-to-talk mic on this shoulder. That really interferes with shoulder changes. On my other plate carrier, it's not such an issue, but at the same time, yeah, there could be a better setup, but I haven't found it yet for my personal needs. So, when you're setting up your kit, guys, especially if you have a really bad case of TMS, always consider your weapon as well as your actual kit. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to this kind of thing is they only take into account the weight of the kit itself, maybe whatever they're going to throw on the back of it. They forget that if you're going to be wearing this stuff, you're going to be carrying one of these. Hopefully you've got a sidearm. You've probably got a knife or something somewhere on you. You have to have secondary considerations to take into account your weapon, your sidearm, your belt setup, what have you. In short, guys, what it all really comes down to is, when it comes to tactical gear, less is more if you're a civilian. Yes, it's great to have all that ammo. It's great to have all that storage capacity. It's great to have maximum coverage of your body if you're looking for front, back, and side plates, which are always an option no matter what your setup happens to be. But when it comes to actual effectiveness, when it comes to what will really keep you alive, will really keep you going, what will really make you the most effective in a self-defense, or, heaven forbid, civil unrest, or, I don't know, something really wild and crazy like situation where a horde of masked hooligans are coming down the street, looting, burning, and pillaging, and taking over whole sections of your town. And you decide you're not going to have any of that, and you decide to suit up with a bunch of your buddies, go out, take care of business, and defend you and your own. When it comes to any of these situations, less is more. This much ammo can be very effective. You can have a backpack on your back carrying even more ammunition, plus you can have a battle belt at your waist, which, by the way, is much better at carrying weight than your shoulders, with all your secondary gear. You can have your sidearm, extra rifle mags, your medical, your knife, your dump pouch, whatever else you want to put on there without straining your back and without straining your shoulders, making you that much more effective in a combat situation. With a setup like this, not only is it much handier, much sleeker, much slimmer, it's also lighter. Light means fast. Remember this old adage, guys. This is really the basics, or I should say the basic reason why I despise TMS and those who suffer from it, or I shouldn't say despise, or why I really try to reach out to people who suffer from TMS to try to correct their ways and have something a little more practical. Ounces make pounds. Pounds make pain. When you're in pain, you're not as effective. You don't move as well. You're not as fast. You're not as limber. You're not as focused on target. You're not as in the zone, you could say. If you have overloaded yourself to the point that you are struggling to move and you are struggling to keep up with your comrades after a certain point, you have not done anybody any good. You can have 1,000 rounds on your body, but if you are gassed halfway to the gunfight and you never get to use those rounds, you didn't do anybody any good. You just made a nice little loot box for Mr. Bad Guy who comes along a few minutes after somebody shoots you because you were a slow-moving target. And not only that, just think about the way you actually perform tactical movement. I showed you earlier about how that rifle stuck out about 1.5 feet when I was wearing that other kit. I have this sling cinched down as tight as it will go. This rifle is still right up against my body. I can still bring it up. I can engage a target. I can move around corners. I can manipulate this rifle much better than if I was wearing big bulky kit like I was a minute ago. Also, if I bring this rifle in, this is pointing directly at the ground right now. I can be in close proximity to my buddies, close proximity to civilians, close proximity to passers-by. I can be in a vehicle. I can do whatever I need to do, and this rifle is still pointed in a safe direction no matter what I do. I am far less likely to have this rifle taken away from me with it this close to my body. Not only that, my ammunition is much more readily accessible. If I were to have to perform a reload, ammunition is right there, good to go. I can perform a speed reload from the kit, from the belt, whatever I need to do, and still have it right there, sleek, fast, slim, good to go. When it comes to building up off of this, you can always do that. This is just a basic template, guys. This is the bare bones basic, the minimum of what a civilian should need in a hell or high water situation, really. You want to put water on here? Do it. You want to carry a pack on top of this? Do it. You want to carry a battle belt in addition to this? I highly recommend it. Please do it. You want to have more than one weapon system? You can definitely do that. But this should be your bare bones basic, your level 1, let's say, your level 1 setup for most situations. With this kind of setup, you should be able to take care of almost any situation that may come your way. There is no need to weigh yourself down. There's no need to weigh yourself to just bulk up for no good reason other than you saw it on a movie, you saw it on a game, your buddy who was in the Marines said, oh, we carried all this, we carried all... Yeah, they had to. You don't. And not only that, I didn't even touch on this with my other kit because I don't have much of this stuff. But you hear about guys clipping on like night vision. You hear about them clipping on chem lights and grenades and extra flashlights, which are always a good thing to have. I'm not going to knock that. But just all this other stuff that you really don't need. Because, yes, carry a lot of ammo, carry a lot of medical, carry water if you're going to be out there for an extended period of time. Definitely have comms. Those are the main things you should have on your kit. Your kit should only be able to do 3 things extremely well as a basic setup. Make holes, stop holes, and plug holes. Make holes, obvious. Carry a good amount of ammo. Stop holes. Armor. That is literally the purpose of a plate carrier. It's even in the name. It carries plates. It carries your armor. That's why I tell people all the time, if you really want to get the best bang for your buck, buy a cheap carrier and really good armor, because the armor is what will save your life. Plug holes. Some kind of medical on your kit. I have a tourniquet down here. These pouches on the back of the cummerbund can fit a T-Rex arms or similarly sized med kit, or you can stuff whatever you want in here, and whatever your minimalist plate carrier setup is, most of them have some way that you can mount a medical kit or medical gear to it. You don't have to have an entire trauma bag on there. You don't have to have 15 tourniquets and 2 med kits. You don't have to have an ER on your back unless you are the designated medic or the situation really calls for it. And even then, you can stuff that in a pack. You do not have to weight yourself down, make yourself less effective, a more appealing target. It just, you don't have to do all this stuff. You don't need all that crap on your kit if you don't actually need it. And when it comes to all the other stuff I mentioned, unless you think you're actually going to need that sledgehammer strapped to your back to breach doors in wherever you're going, which is a very bad idea if you're a civilian, by the way, don't take it. Okay, you want to strap some night vision on. Sure, go for it. Are you going to use it immediately? Do you think you're going to be operating in an environment where you're going to need that night vision? If yes, bring it, absolutely. If not, why do you have that? Why? Why are you bringing it? I mean, yes, you should have water. Do you need 5 gallons on your back with a couple of jugs in the backpack? Well, are you going to be out for a few days? Sure, go ahead and do it. Is it your car kit and you're running into a school to take out a mass shooter? You don't need that much. You have to fit your kit to the scenario where it is most likely to be used. And TMS is, again, I see it far too often. I see it with way too many people, especially newbies. And it's not a good thing for either you, for the community, or for the people that you are gearing up to potentially save. It is a condition that must be avoided, and for trainers like me, it is extremely annoying to have to tell people, okay, you don't need that. Why is that on there? Why do you have that many? By the end of this class, you are going to lose something off of this kit. No, I won't. I never will. They always do. By the end of a 2 or 3 day rifle class, you will change your kit. By the end of a week straight in the field, you will take some of that crap off. After 3 or 4 tactical operations or tactical training scenarios where you're out in the woods for a couple of days and have to pack this stuff around for pretty much the entire time, you will take stuff off. It's just going to happen. I'm just here to try to give you a little heads up, try to prevent cases of TMS, for lack of a better term. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe. And if you think I did something wrong, I did something right, you think I'm an idiot talking at my butt on the internet, well, write it down in the comment anyway. I'd appreciate the engagement. Till next time, guys, stay free and stay frosty.